Today, Raymond and I are answering questions about the L mount. And since these questions did come up in the comments of a video where we talked about the Panasonic S5 that we recently purchased and the Leica SL2, which we also own, the questions do tend to be about those cameras. If you are new here, hello, my name is Leigh. I share videos every week on anything where you might have a camera in your hand. I love photography. And sometimes you may even see my partner in photography and in life, Raymond, like you will in today's video. I also have in-depth courses available on different photography topics where I take you step by step in a pragmatic and easy to understand way so that you can capture the photos that you have always wanted. All courses are available to my members, along with weekly members-only videos, ebooks, and an email address, which allows me to see your email and get back to you more quickly. There is a link in the description to learn more about channel membership, if that sounds interesting to you. We know that you will have more questions, but from the S5 reveal video and the review of it, and the review of the S5's 20 to 60 millimeter kit lens, and our general Leica SL2 shenanigans, we did get a sense of the most popular questions, and we are answering them today. Raymond was the impetus for the purchase of the S5, and the rule is you make me spend, you have to appear in the video. And he didn't complain because, frankly, he just loves talking about this camera. We have grouped the many questions into 8 specific items. So let's get started. I'll take the first question. How is the autofocus with single shot, single servo? For those of you that saw my S5 review video, you may have noticed that one of my only complaints about the camera is the subtle hunting and bokeh changes when using continuous focus in video, like I do here in the studio, where I'm a talking head. I don't move around a lot. The question posed to us, though, is regarding capturing a single still image. I'm pleased to report that for still images, like pretty much every other camera that I've used in the last few years, single servo and for the most part continuous servo are spot on. This does exclude the subject tracking, which is definitely not up to the level of Sony's class leading tracking, but we've not used a non-Sony brand that is even close to Sony's autofocus technology. That being said, Raymond used the oval zone mode to very accurately track birds across the sky in continuous servo autofocus. For single shots, the S5 and our SL2 for that matter are in their element. It's quick on the draw, it gets the shot, and it's ready for the next one. Exactly what we'd want. And I do want to be clear here. We did sports and wildlife photography for a long time before eye detect or subject tracking was even a glimmer in the camera engineer's eye. So you can do whatever type of photography that you want on these cameras. I did birds in flight on the SL2. Like I mentioned a moment ago, Raymond did as well on the S5. You just have to know the camera, know your settings, and have your technique down to achieve the results that you want. Those fancy tracking modes, they're great, and they invariably end up giving you more usable shots, but they certainly aren't necessary. Off of my soapbox, though, let's move on to question number 2. Raymond will answer this one. How is the S5 with manual focus?
For manual focus, we did enjoy the option to have a magnified focusing view pop up on the LCD when the focus ring is turned, along with an option to bring us the picture-in-picture window when the joystick is pressed also. And then you have focus peaking, which you can use both in manual focus and single servo autofocus, and there's some options for that as well. Overall, it's an elegant experience, not quite the same soul as a split prism, but this is the digital world, and it's a very accurate method shared by many other mirrorless cameras. If speed's not of the essence, we've proven that we are willing to shoot either camera in manual focus literally all day.
Thank you, Raymond. On to the next question. Comparison to the SL2. Is the S5 worth it as a second body? Let's start with a simple yes, because we in fact purchased the S5 as a second L-mount body to our Leica SL2. To unpack that a bit, we did not want to spend as much as an SL2 costs for a second L-mount body, at least not yet. And it is nice that the S5 is smaller and lighter than the SL2 or the SL2S for those times when we want to use some of our smaller L-mount lenses and pack light. The S5 checks those boxes on lower price and lighter and smaller overall. And for me, I was simply curious about Panasonic bodies. They were the only part of the L-mount alliance that I hadn't experienced. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say, when it comes to image quality and performance. And overall, we are pleased with both on the S5, with a few nuances that we pointed out in the review. In a perfect world, one camera could do everything. But there are two of us, and we like to use and to talk about cameras, so adding the S5 to our collection gives us a new great camera to use, and it gives us more to share with you all here on YouTube. All right, Raymond, your turn. High res mode. What did you think?
I tried this mode once, really as a footnote and handheld for the review that we did. The 96 megapixel high-res mode captures a series of images in succession, which does require a tripod, as I learned. There is computation to eliminate moving objects from blurring and duplicating in the frame. So as long as you're using a tripod, you should be okay in most circumstances. So in the name of science, I took the S5 back out to specifically test this feature. And it does work as they say, but again, you need the tripod. By the way, Leigh's recent video about tripods we use is linked in the description. One of the reasons that we did not spend much time with this mode is the 24 megapixel images normally produced by the camera, they're sharp and crisp. We'll take resolution when we can get it, don't get me wrong, but we weren't exactly falling over ourselves to initially try the 96 megapixel mode. If any of you out there like to use these high-res modes on your camera, whatever your camera might be, let us know down in the comments and your experiences with it.
Yes, there are a number of bodies that have those high-resolution modes. Convince us to try it more, and you might see that in a future video. But on to the next question. Continuous autofocus for sports and wildlife. I know that I touched on this earlier, but this question was asked enough times that I wanted to talk about it again and expand a bit. In this regard, we think of our L-mount cameras in the same vein as Fujifilm cameras. You can absolutely shoot sports and wildlife with them, and we have. However, we do not consider these cameras to be specialists for this type of photography. Given the choices that we have back there on the shelves, we would sooner grab our Nikon Z7 or Sony Alpha 7R4 for sports and wildlife. They're quicker overall, they track moving subjects better, and they both have phase and contrast detect autofocus. The S5 and the SL2 perform admirably and swiftly, but again, something I mentioned in the S5 review, it's not just the camera. We are pining for a super telephoto zoom option for L-mount, along the lines of the 200 to 600 millimeter Sony or the 200 to 500 millimeter Nikon F-mount lens that we have. Raymond, next question. Adapting lenses to L-mount. How did that go?
Several months ago, we really dug in on adapters for various lenses and bodies, and we show no signs of slowing down on that. We're really loving it. Leigh just purchased another adapter last week for a project you'll see next month. But for L-mount, we have adapters that allow us to use F-mount lenses and M-mount lenses on our L-mount cameras, both of them. We've opted for the most basic adapters that rely on us to manually focus and to set the aperture manually on the lens, which is the name of the game for M-mount anyway. And we love it. We really do. To use bodies like the S5 and the SL2 as a platform for lenses designed even before the digital age, these old lenses, they're not technically perfect as glass is today, and lenses today are electronically corrected. They communicate with the camera to make adjustments. None of that here. But this process of adapting the lenses, using different combinations, it brings us joy. The images with the older, less perfect lenses, they seem to bring their own soul and character and feeling to our images also. So we can go with it when we can, knowing that we have our modern mirrorless lenses when duty calls. like with all the body and lens adapter combinations we've tried, we're very pleased with our L-mount adapter options.
Still talking about lenses, a lot of people asked about Leica lenses on the S5. This is a joy and the promise of the L-mount Alliance. You can pick your lens from 3 great brands and your camera body from any of those same 3. Leica on Panasonic, no problem. Panasonic on Leica, piece of cake. And Sigma lenses for all 3. And there's also the Sigma FP and FPL bodies for using all of those lenses as well. Different camera brands and even sometimes different cameras within each brand render images differently, independent of lens choice. I'm talking color and contrast and just overall character. The SL2 and the S5 are no exception, and the lenses have their own character. So the combinations are endless. We didn't do anything scientific to compare the color science and contrast between the different combinations, but we have noticed that our SL2 gives us more of a film look and very precisely renders the fine shades and tones of, say, a sunset, while the S5 is more like our Nikon cameras, which deliver natural but bold, vibrant color, especially with landscapes. And once you bring editing software like Lightroom or anything else into the equation, neither the body nor the lens choice will lock you into a particular look. But for those who don't spend much time editing, and I certainly don't, or if you're a run-and-gun JPEG shooter, as I sometimes am, you will want to take lens and body choice seriously among the L-mount choices because they certainly each do have their own unique characteristics that affect the look of your finished product. All right, Raymond, last question. Tell us about the usability of the S5 compared to the SL2.
The usability question really depends on who you are, what you're looking for. The S5 has more buttons, dials, and switches. It's a tool designed for easy access to the controls, and the form of the camera almost exclusively follows the function. The Leica SL2 has a different philosophy. It's plenty functional, but it's a more minimal, more bold design. The best way that I can characterize the SL2 is that while it's designed for the sincerity of your photography, it's also designed itself, meaning it's truly its own piece of artwork. For us, that means that we're creating artwork with something that we also consider to be a work of art. And that tickles me, and I think Leigh, in places that other cameras just can't. And I know she agrees. But we both also agree that either camera, from a photography and videography standpoint, it'll get the job done. They're both very easy to pick up and get used to very quickly.
Those were our most popular questions. Of course, if you have other questions, feel free to add them to the comments below. We and the community out there are here to help when we can. Remember that there are links in the description for you to check out my courses and such. Please like this video if you found it helpful or at least entertaining, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.